listeners, to another episode of the BizBlend podcast where business meets heart, heart meets hustle, strategy dances with soul, and success feels aligned inside out. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and today in this episode, we are diving into a conversation that I believe kind of truly embodies what BizBlend is all about: merging business, sales, marketing, and finance with spirituality and energy alignment. And my guest today is Ash Shukla, who is a holistic business consultant and founder of Financial Chakras. Let me share a bit about Ash with all of you listeners. His journey is nothing short of inspiring. Coming to the US in 1989 with just $20 in his pocket and no English, and then rising to become an Amazon best-selling author, a sought-after speaker, and a mentor to thousands of entrepreneurs scaling to seven figures and beyond. It's more than inspiring. And listeners, Ash's approach is basically a blend of financial strategy and spiritual wisdom, two completely opposite worlds beautifully intersecting in there, helping business owners not just grow their revenue, but also align with their purpose, their energy, their financial well being. So, whether you are for the sales tactics here, or you are curious about how chakras can actually influence your business success, this conversation is going to be a game changer for you. So, Ash, welcome to BizBlend, and I'm really excited. I'm really honored to have you with us.
Well, I'm honored to have you, and thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the audience who's listening. And I want to let them know that, my friends, you are made to be great, and I just love you.
That was such a heartwarming beginning to this conversation, Ash. Okay, let's talk about your journey because it's a ritual in my podcast that the guest, I will ask my guests every time to share their journey because there's a story, there's a motivation behind everything they have done or they are doing. So you arrived in the US, in the States from India with just $20 in a pocket. I mean, in a completely new culture, alien culture. And then you kind of journeyed from there to build a seven-figure business, which is incredible. I mean, there are lots of ups and downs, lots of hard work, toiling, networking. I mean, so many things involved. So, can you share a moment, Ash, where you realized that just a strategy or just having that business acumen is not enough? Maybe there's something deeper involved here, which is not, in fact, related to business.
Yeah. So look, let me just be clear on the journey, right? So I have had an amazing ride. Like I've had ups and my downs and all kinds of stuff, right? But I think so. To give you an understanding, what drives me, okay, what drives me. So my dad, had to. He was working at a. We lived in Gandhinagar in India, in Gujarat, right? And so my dad was making, very little money. And he was a government worker, back home, and
Okay.
when we were coming here, he sold everything to just to be. He had a choice, like literally, the year we got our visas is the same time he had an offering to get a bungalow in Gandhinagar for 80,000 rupees. Okay, and he had 80,000 rupees left, and that's how much the tickets were to come here to the United States. So to me, that was to me that was like everything for him, right? Because he sold everything over there. So on our journey, when we were coming here, I had made up my mind that I'm getting an opportunity to do something great, and I'm just gonna take it, basically. And so, to give you a story on that, because when we were coming here from Mumbai, you know how it works, right? Our Indian families is it's not one or two people; it's the whole herd. So
Yeah.
we had everybody, and that too in 1989, and we had never been overseas, or I had never seen a plane from inside before on that time. So everybody was at the airport early in the morning. Our flight wasn't going to take off until late at night. And so at 9 o'clock, when we finally boarded the plane, me and my brother thought it was a beautiful plane. It was a famous airline from India. Just I don't want to botch the name. Okay.
I
So,
got it.
so we get onto the plane. It was amazing. It was like beige sidings and maroon carpets, and you know
Yeah.
um so it was Air India, by the way, right? And we had a great time. So we're like, okay, great, this is beautiful. The fragrance was amazing. We get in the flight, and then it literally uh it came to a point where we were like, me and my brother, we were fighting for window, and then we decided we compromised and things like that, and then finally plane was supposed to take off and it didn't. So
Okay.
at 10 o'clock we are still in the Mumbai hot airplane. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, nothing is happening. Plane is still
Mhm.
sitting there. Relatives us, back in the day where we had, there were windows where you could see the plane and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, looking from there, and things of that nature. So as this is happening, they announce that plane has a technical difficulty. And so finally, plane takes off at about 1:30 at night, and we arrive at the London Heathrow Airport. And I thought it was so beautiful, just like the plane. I was like, wow, like dream come true. It was so gorgeous, right? Because and then I couldn't speak English, and I was pure Gujarati. Like I studied in Gujarati medium, and I'm talking pure like typical good Jew, you can say, right? So, so back in the day, I was like, okay, I would need to go to restroom. I had to go to bathroom. Like there was just no other way, right? To put that. And then my dad was he goes to the ticket counter and he's trying to communicate, and he can't speak English either. And he's saying something and the ticket counter person is not understanding. And in between, I'm running around trying to find bathroom. And I'm like, I'm seeing this door. It was so beautiful, that the particular door. And that particular door was so beautiful. I'm like, everybody goes in very tense and comes out really relaxed. I'm like, must be a VIP room or something. And back in the so finally one Indian person helps me out, and I come out, and then I go to my dad, and I see that he's struggling. And then there's an
Okay.
Indian lady walks up to us, and she helps us out, and she helps us and gets and tells us that, hey, I'm helping you, and she helps us get a she first thing she told us was that we have missed our connecting flight. And I find out that, okay, not only we have missed our connecting flight, but then I find out that she says, I'll get you a hotel. So at first we were scared because we only had $20 each, right? So we were scared. But she's like, don't worry, I'll get you a hotel. So she gets us a hotel, and then she gets us some vouchers for food. So I said, okay, that sounds actually, at least we have a place to stay, right? So we felt a little bit relaxed. So we go into the
Mhm.
hotel. We had never been in a hotel before. So I'm like, okay, first order of business. I'm 16. My brother is 14. We both look at the bed and we jump on the bed. That was our first order of business in the hotel. Okay, it was nice and bouncy. We're like, we have to test it out. So we test that out, and then we're like, okay, great. Now we are hungry. So we go downstairs to eat, and we are vegetarian. It's 1989, and it's London Heathrow Airport. There's only two words for that: good luck, right? Because you cannot find anything vegetarian in
Yeah.
1989 at London Heathrow Airport, right? And then luckily, and we don't know what we are reading on the menu, so the lady walks up to us and she helps us out again, and she helps us get a salad, a spaghetti, and a bread roll. So first we get a salad, okay? I'm like,
Okay.
okay, you know what? I'm hungry. I have never had grass in my life. It's the first time I'm having grass. And I'm like, must be good. Cows eat it, so must be good for me, right? So I
Okay.
go for it. And it was horrible. It was a bitter grass. It was horrible, right? In terms of a salad. And then I said, okay, fine, go for spaghetti. But Kung Fu Panda Dad, where he made
Yeah.
noodles in a boiled water, right? So that's what we had received. And I'm like, okay, how do you eat that? I have never eaten spaghetti before. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for this, no problem, right? So I tried that. It was horrible. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for the bread. Bread has to be good because it's a universal thing and everybody likes it, right? We have it back home too. but this was a it was a roll, right? And I take the roll and I try to bite it, and I could not bite the roll
It was
because it
so
was a
hard.
soup roll.
Oh, okay.
It was a
Okay.
soup roll. So English
You're
soup roll.
so yeah.
Yeah, English soup roll is really, really hard to bite, right? So I couldn't bite that roll. And anyways, I left it there. I'm like, these people are horrible, right? So and then so I'm like, okay, first, right before the bathroom, I was looking for water, and back in the day, we didn't, I hadn't seen a water fountain,
Mm.
so I was looking for matka, and at the airport, I'm like, where do they drink water from? They have to have drinking water from someplace, right? So all this is experiences going on in my like adrenaline is pumping. We are really excited, but at the same time we are scared, and we
Mm.
don't know what we are doing. And the reason I say that is because we finally next morning we made sure we took our flight, right? We made sure we got there early, and we made sure we took our flight. And on the flight here, I had what do you call it, from an experience point of view. Okay, me and my dad, we talked about a dream of about how we're gonna land there, and we're gonna have a car finally, and we're gonna have a house, right, and things of that nature, and then eventually we're gonna build up this amazing life. And literally in 1 year after coming here, we bought a house, right? Now, the reason I say that to you is because the desire, right? When they talk about activating certain energies, within you, right? When a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners are feeling that way, right? They are
Uh-huh.
either at the Mumbai International Airport, they're starting their journey, right? They're like working full-time job and starting a part-time business, right? It's that energy there, right? You're just totally stuck, and you're like, okay, I need to get off the plane. I need to take
Yep.
this plane off the ground. That's the first type of energy that I find often. The second type of energy that I find often, and at least that's what I found, it's at the London Heathrow Airport, where you took off, you got to a certain place, and you either
Yeah.
plateaued or you are going down, right? It's a secondary big thing that I find usually with that's what I find normally, right, with business owners, entrepreneurs. And then the
Mm.
third big thing that I find is that you know I find that people want to take off the ground. Business owners wants to take off the ground, and they
Mm.
but what happens often is they get the ticket. They get the ticket, and they say, okay, just like that lady helped us out get the voucher and the tickets. A lot of coaching consulting world, they give the ticket to get on the plane. And what I had decided is that, look, I've done well. I'm thankful for to God for that, right? In many ways, and energetically, I'm very happy with what I have. But you know what's the most important part of that is that I now get to not only give tickets to get on a plane to entrepreneurs and business owners and entrepreneurs to be, right, people who are just starting, right, but also I get to get on their plane with you and literally take that journey all the way to the destination, so you don't feel scared, you don't feel alone, you don't feel, oh my god, what am I going to do, right? And I think for me, that's what drives me internally, right? And not only, like, of course, we are doing okay, but am I billionaire or multi-trillionaire? No, right? Um, but have I done pretty well? Yes, right. So all I can tell you is that from my point of view, it's important to, when you are on this journey of entrepreneurship, for to what drives me internally, right? It's just me and my promise to my dad that we have this opportunity, let's take it. And my message to your listeners would be, you have the opportunity right now, take it, right? That's my message, as to start with.
I mean, first of all, how brilliantly, with just simple explanation of each and every moment, the feelings you were having, the moments, the excitement you had along with your brother. How beautifully you weaved the story here, and you connected it with the entrepreneurial journey. That is superb. That is really inspiring, Ash. And secondly, yes, I absolutely believe, because universally, if we talk, energetically, if we speak, then everything is happening in the moment. It's here and now. It's not like, okay, I'll wait for another 1 year or 2 years or maybe 3, 4, 7 years, then I'll take that step. Uh,
Yeah.
so I couldn't agree more with you on this. Couldn't agree more with you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on, Ash, you have helped thousands of entrepreneurs break financial and energetic blocks. How do you identify, first of all, that whether a block is a strategic one or an energetic one? Because there can be so many reasons. There can be family related or cultural related, or maybe personal blocks could be, like subconsciously ingrained blocks in there. So can you walk us through with a help of an example, maybe?
Absolutely. So, just to clarify, you want me to identify, like, teach how to identify the blocks and then
Yeah.
cure them, basically, right? Okay. So I will say one thing to you, right? So I think that number one, I will, I am NLP certified and other certifications, if you will. So
Mhm.
as I look at it a little closer, and as I look at my journey, okay, um, many times, first and foremost, if you're gonna sit down and think about, okay, what's blocking me, right? First of all, the question is wrong, right?
Mm.
The question is the beginning part of that question is, what's wrong with me? We have been taught since we are born. We have been taught, right? Bacha, like, ye mat karna, like, don't do this, right? Oh,
Mhm.
little son, little daughter, oh my goodness, you do this, is so bad for you. But, and then when something actually bad happens, right? And then we are like, oh my God, like, what just happened? And
Mhm.
what happens to us, or in life, right? We remember, when you
Mhm.
look at a scale of things between one spectrum to the other spectrum, we
Mhm.
remember, like, most people that I talk to, they remember about, what has happened that's bad for them. So if I ask you to remember your memories from childhood to now,
Mhm.
you remember more bad things than good things.
That's yeah.
So
True.
normally we make बात का बतंगर बना देते हैं ना, like we make it so big,
Yeah.
we make it huge. So
Yeah.
we make the problem of, like, remembering bad things, and we make it so good. Like, we make that tape recorder, like, that keeps playing over and over and over. And oh yeah, and
Mhm.
then of course, everything is connected to everything, right? So, oh, because
Yeah.
of this happened, because of this happened, right? So, and we make things that are bad so big, and we
Mhm.
make things that are so good in our life very small. So one of the simplest way to unblock yourself is start the process of what's happening, that what has happened that's good
Mhm.
for you, right?
Mhm.
Really, really big. Make the happy memories really big, and make the bad memories very small.
Yeah. So we need to
It's
change our perspective, our lens, the lens through which we are looking at.
Yeah, like, complete. So exactly. So the starting point is that, right? So, but
Mhm.
because that's when you begin to start to understand yourself. Because until then, you are just literally creating. It's there's no sometimes there's no hurdle, but you're creating one. You're creating one. So logical people are so once you understand yourself energetically, like, you'll see some people who are totally lazy. They're not moving anywhere. They're not motivated, right? And the question is, are they really lazy, or they just haven't found what's motivating them?
I think the second one.
Exactly. So the when you see some people who are all the time, they are in the fear and anxiety mode. They come from the root chakra. So when you look at from an energetics point of view, right? First step is understanding and flipping the script. First thing. Second big thing that I find is that it's important for you to understand energetically where you're coming from. Who are you really? So ask yourself, who are you? Are you a heart-centric person? Are you a go-getter? Are you a good communicator? Are you an intelligent person? Are you a creative person? Or are
Mhm.
you a person who likes safety, right? Um, some people are totally opposite. Some people are risk takers, and it's
Yeah.
okay, right? So I think the first step is understanding who you are and accepting who you are. That is your, I call it in my world, when I do my 3 day events, I teach you how to identify a lot of things. And what I find is that people,
Mhm.
you think you know who you are until you go through exercises, right? But at least for the time being, you know who you are. Let's assume that you know who you are. Okay.
Mhm.
Once you find that, now you get to find your current flow, your financial flow, that's causing this blockage or opening up the blockage, right? So now you can find your current flow, and then you get to put it into signature financial flow. In my events, I teach that, right? How do you create your signature financial flow so that when you have this, your primary energy, once you find your primary self, like where you come from, you
Mhm.
usually go from there to some place. It's like a ping pong ball. So your
Yep.
energetics are going in certain way, right? So this was happening with a client of mine. Very first time I started doing speaking, I was a financial advisor for 27 years, and I was managing about $300 million. And at one point, I decided to, dissolve everything I had, and started to move in the direction of going for speaking and training and things like that. And at that time, I was still growing the financial business. I was like at the Mumbai International Airport. I was still stuck between the two careers, if you will, and I
Yeah.
just wasn't so sure. But I started this journey of like, okay, I'm gonna try this speaking. So my very first speaking engagement, I go to the place. I'm going to speak. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, right? I happen to run into somebody at networking event, and they said, "Go talk to this guy. He's looking for somebody." I go talk to his name is Russell. To this day, we are very good friends, and we end up, having conversation. And then he's like, "I would love to have you," and I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I jumped in, and back in the day, I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? And he wanted me to talk about business and how I built a 7-figure business, and that was my talk. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And so I go in, I do my thing, if you will, and I loved it from day one. Now in that journey, I ran into one lady. She was a pageant winner here in the Maryland area. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know that. But she's like, I'm trying to save my dad's business, and she was Greek. And she's like, I'm trying to save my dad's business, and I really need help, and I'm about to go under, and I don't know what to do, right? And she was scared. She was like at the think of that as like London Heathrow Airport, right? She was stuck. She's
Yeah.
like, if I don't make it from here, I don't know where to go. It's like 20 bucks in my pocket at London Heathrow Airport, right? Can't speak
Yeah.
English, can't eat food, don't know what to do. So it's kind of like that. So I was like, okay, no problem. Let me just see what I can do. So I looked at her. She was a contractor, and she did government contracting with like she was a painting contractor, right? So, and
Okay.
as a women minority business owner in the construction world, it's not an easy feat. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and she had 4 days to put money, put down for the bid, if you will, apply for the bid. So she
Mhm.
goes for the bid, like she's like, I don't know what to do here. So she had like 4 people. I said, who are the top contractors who win this contract, right? So first comes, once I understood where she came from, right?
Mhm.
Then now the question is, how do I find her inner being, right? So I was talking to her. I found out some things about her, and I said, okay, based on what you're doing, here's how to align yourself. And I aligned her with the right contractors, and I said, let's apply for all these things. And at first, she was fighting that, right? Because whenever you're going through inner alignment, there's going to be a little bit of fight. You're going to have that initial knee jerk, why should I do this? And oh my God, like that attitude will come out, right? And this was her issue. So I talked to her and I said, listen, you want to make it, we're going to do this, right? We got 4 days to make this work. Either that or you and your dad get to, drown in sorrow. Your choice, right? So that being said, We ended up having conversation. We put out like 4 bids. At one bid, well, one guy was not giving her the appointment. I said, go meet these people. And she's like, he's not giving me the appointment. I said, text him and say that you will show up at his house at 3 in the morning if you need to, but you want to meet him. And he literally gave her the appointment at 5 in the morning to see her.
Wow.
And you know who won the main contract? He did.
She.
And she became his subcontractor. And she got $50,000 in funding. So sometimes you have to understand what energies to put forth, right? You may or may not like certain things, and it's okay. And that's happened to us. Like, when we came here, I was working at a pizza place, and I was flipping pans in the back, in the back, right? And I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, okay, I've never flipped pans in my life. I've never even touched a dish. But the only time I touched dish was eating. That's it, right? So I had to do that. And then eventually I went to work for a gas station in a couple of weeks. And I worked for a gas station, and I was like, Monday through Friday, I was working, going to school in the morning, and then from 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night, I would walk to work, and then work from 3 to 12 at night, and then I would come back home and then do my homework, all that at work, and then on Fridays I would work from 3 o'clock to Saturday morning, and that was like a routine for me, right? And even on Sundays I would do the same thing, Saturday, Sunday, same thing. But there are times when you just have to, you know, understand who you are. That's important. But at the same time, you have to understand how to prioritize your energetics too. And in her case, that was the case. And eventually we built a $10 million business together. Right. So, and I can give you stories after stories after stories like that. Right. I didn't know until later that she was actually a pageant winner in Maryland. No idea. Right. But, essentially, like, what boils down to is that, understanding energetically who you are and creating your signature. And once we found that signature for her, we literally just took off. Then my consulting became so much easier for her. My help become, my me helping her and her helping me understand where to go with that market, because I had never been in construction before. I mean, the only thing I own as far as construction is screwdriver, and I have zero interest in anything. Literally, like painting and all that is not my game. But one thing I do understand is business and money, right? And energetically, how you can flow with it. In her case, that was the case. But then I meet some holistic entrepreneurs. I met a person who owns a wellness center, and she's like, I really need to make it moving. And she was doing about $250,000 a year in business, and she's like, I need to really make it moving, and I'm just having a hard time moving it. And then once I understood her, and she came from a background of like being a therapist, okay, and so very soft, very mellow, very like that kind of thing, right? Very intelligent, extremely intelligent person. But what happens with a lot of times when people are intelligent, they go in a loop. They keep putting together what if then scenarios. And when that happens, you're getting stuck in your own energetics. So there's a flow, there's current flow that she was following. That's what kept her plateaued. And literally, like once I understood, she's not just intelligent, but she's also in many ways she's very creative. So I started taking a look at her energies, and I said, okay, what can we do to make this work? And we made this entire center in a way that she's doing about 1.5 million right now in business. Right. So when you are really aligned and understand how do you create your signature financial flow, then you truly get to, embark on journeys that you have never even thought possible. Right. In terms of business, in terms of finances, in terms of your family life, right? Having the freedom that you are looking for and really moving your life forward. Because in today's world, you can do anything, anything. I don't like if somebody has told you ever before that, sometimes people say like, people have told me all the time, yo, you do a lot of things. What are you really good at? And I almost want to say every time I'm good at everything.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think the times have changed, when some of the pre-assumed notions or the picture has to be changed
Yes.
because in many of my conversations, what I've understood that it's good to be versatile. It's good to be creative. It's good to be good at multiple things at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I find is that this old myth about, back in the day, we couldn't do multiple things even if you wanted to. But if you really stop and think about it, did we not do multiple things? My moms did multiple things all the time, right? Daughters did multiple things all the time, and so did men. It did multiple things all the time. They want to, different ways they did multiple things, right? And it's not about whether you can do something or not. That's irrelevant. And I think we have been told this picture that you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And the thing is, it's just a story. So one thing I tell people is that ask yourself, and those of you who are online or those of you who are listening to me, I want you to take your one anyone like take your hand, palm of your hand, and touch a tree. And if I was to ask you a question, when you touch a tree, what are you really touching? When you touch a tree, what are you really touching? So, Sana, what are you really touching when you touch a tree?
I'm touching the bark of it. I'm feeling the maturity, the uh events, the times it has seen. I'm kind of getting that energy of that tree, the caregiving energy, the nurturing energy of that tree. That's
Okay.
what I uh, picturize or I visually associate, whenever a tree comes to my mind.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to ask you again. If when you're touching a tree, what are you really touching?
The bark, the, trunk of the tree.
Trunk of the tree, right? Okay, fine. So I'm gonna, without going any further, right? If I was to really get into it a little deeper, and I'm gonna ask you one more time, Sana, when you touch a tree, what are you really, really touching?
Okay. I think I'm getting that feeling of that, that hardness outside, but the softness inside of that tree. I'm
Okay,
touching. Okay, that's what is coming to my mind, but I would love
okay.
to know.
So what? Here's what's happening, right? So you are going away from the truth, right? So you're
Okay.
distorting the information that you're getting. But what you are, when you touch a tree, you're really just touching a tree. Isn't that a fact?
Oh, that is the fact.
Right? You're just touching the tree.
Okay. Okay.
So when somebody tells you that you are not good at, you know, turning on Zoom, is that really true or not true? When you ask yourself that question
Mm-hmm.
and you get the answer, is the right answer.
Got got
If
it.
somebody says to me, Ash, you have to go upstairs and build a room, and somebody says to me, you are really bad at it. I'm
How
going to
do
touch the tree, and I'm going to say, you are right,
okay.
because I don't know how to put the cardboards up. I don't know how to put any like none of it. Zero. I have no idea. Makes sense to you what I'm saying to you, right? If somebody says, "Hey, Ash, you have to go upstairs and cook, and you have to make the best meal on planet Earth," but you know what? You're really bad at it,
Oh.
and I would say, "Yep, you're right." But if somebody says to me, "Ash, you don't know how to make money, or you don't know how to do business, right? Or you don't know how to take a taste a food and tell me if it's yummy or not," and I'll touch the tree and I'll say they're wrong. What, does that make sense? But what we do as human beings, we actually end up saying, "Oh, you know what? You're right,"
Understood.
because you haven't touched the tree yet. So I find that when you touch the tree, when you get in touch with yourself and who you are, that's where you get to stand. And then you get to understand your current financial flow, your current being, exactly how you flow, because internally we flow, right? So let's say you're a go-getter and you're a great salesman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And salesmen usually go for things. Real estate agents usually just go, they love the rush, right?
We love to work under pressure.
Huh?
We love to work under pressure.
Yeah, they love to work under pressure, right? And they love the rush. And so when you but they also have a flaw, right? When you are there, when they, because they're too ambitious and they
That's right.
flow in a certain way. So what happens is, because they're very ambitious, they just go for things. But when they go for things, they're going through certain channels inside of them. There are certain
Mhm.
channels that they go through, right? And those channels make or break them, right? So those channels actually, like when they just go for it without thinking about it, right? So what they haven't done is going from the third chakra into the fifth chakra and really put some thoughts into it, and then they get stuck. So and then they don't know how to get creative to get out of the situation. Meaning they don't go to their second chakra. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
And it costs them dearly, right? Then
Mhm.
they get into their root chakra and then they go into anxiety, fear, uncertainty, and that's what kills their confidence.
Yes.
In reality, if they go back to who they are and tune it in the right way, they get to have a not just a, a life, but a fantastic business and everything that they want. That's the beautiful part of it. So,
Wow. And I
hope
think
that.
mm, yeah, that does make sense. And I think uh, because in entrepreneurship or in sales or all these high stress environments, burnout and then kind of getting at the peak and then crashing down, steeply crashing down. I think it's really very commonly what we see. uh, and I what I learn is here it's more of because of the energy misalignment in there,
Right.
as described it, especially from the perspective of sales.
Hmm.
uh, that definitely makes sense, Ash.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So in terms of like, if you want to get further, right, first center yourself. It's so important. Many times we overlook it, but it's so important to center yourself, in my opinion.
Brilliant, brilliant. And how do you respond to skeptics, Ash? Because in business, kind of stereotypically we see people, wearing suits and in their boardrooms discussing all numbers, but not energy. How do you respond to skeptics who feel that bringing the concept of chakras or energy into finance, sales, marketing, or leadership overall, it kind of dilutes the focus on the bigger picture, the hard, metrics.
So how do you respond to them?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask them, who is more happier, because you're gonna find that people, businesses and individuals who are truly thriving are the people who follow. I have created a formula, financial chakras formula, right? So in that I teach how do you measure your potential in dollars and how do you measure your emotions in dollars. It's a mathematical formula, right? That I put together. Okay, and then once you so I and there's a particular one formula. Financial chakras is a formula. What I did was I did over 5,000 plus combinations of chakras, and I found that there's only one combination that's it's like a perfect combination of a luck. And if you go in any other order, you usually end up failing. And what I find is that the alignment is so crucial. And the people who are going after just the money, right? They are going after just the money. They are most likely, they, yes, they are accomplishing a lot of things and they're making a lot of money and all that stuff is great. Okay.
Mhm.
But you're going to find they're coming from a certain chakra, certain inner being, right? And one of their chakra, they're what they're doing is they're putting a little poison on their main chakra that's actually guiding them. So you're taking a poison pill and literally drinking it, saying, "Oh, it's yummy," and
That's
you're
very
diluting, you're polluting your entire ocean. And then what happens is comes unhappiness, family issues, business issues,
health
financial
issues.
issues, right? All kinds of things that comes into play. And health issues, right? I mean, it affects everything, right? One, if there's 5 areas of life I believe that are important, and that's what I do in my manifestation every day, is we focus on 5 areas of life of balance in health, relationship, business, finance, and spirituality, in all 5 areas. If one of the areas is not balanced, the other areas are going to get affected for sure. So what I find is that people who are critics and they say, "Oh, yeah, spirituality talks or whatever else," and I agree to some degree. There's extreme to both sides, right? In terms of that's concerned, but that doesn't mean that you cannot find a balance either, in my opinion.
I agree.
As a matter of fact, it's been proven. At least that's what I know. Holistic entrepreneurs, right? Did you know this as a fact? This is a little fun fact, okay? So when I created Financial Chakras, I wanted to really grow my private financial practice I had. And I was like, okay, so initially, that's what I was doing, right? And so I'm like, okay, now what do I do here? So I found Financial Chakras and I did all these things, and I'm like, okay, who will be attracted? Did you know that most holistic entrepreneurs usually have at least in the US is a big deal, that they have bachelor's degree or higher. So they're very intelligent human beings. Okay, they're not what they have not done. I will tell you the flaw with a lot of people who are even intelligent people, right? Like a lot of people who are even successful, right? They feel like world will just give you everything just because you ask for it.
Mm.
World has everything for you already available, but at some point you have to apply other energetics within you to get to it. So with the universe, meaning God or whatever spiritual being, whatever you want to call it, right? And you, right? It's a partnership. So when a person is like they're into the business world and they feel like they are, like superior, and they're becoming all this and bag of chips. And just so you know, bag of chips are 75% empty. Okay. So they're becoming in all this and bag of chips, right? Guess what's happening? They're going away from the secondary piece. And when that happens, right, the 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 connection doesn't happen. And at some point in time, and that's why 5 areas of life are so important. Understanding your energetics is so important. Understanding, and putting together, making sure that you do find your signature financial flow is so important. And my events that I'm putting on an event in about a month or so. It's not expensive. That's not my goal. Is to really help people in the best way possible, right? So I think that is a crucial component to build out a great life and a if you will. And for those people who are in suits and all that, look, I was in suits for almost 30 years. Okay, I was in suits. I can show you my pictures, and you probably find it on my website and all that, right? You'll find my pictures on suits. I've been in suits. I understand how that works,
Mhm.
right? And it's feast or famine in that world. You know, kill or be killed, right? Like, and that's not the life. The question is that the lifestyle you really want? And if the answer is yes, guess what? You should go for it. But if you are listening to this and the answer is no, then it's no.
It's a choice.
Touch the tree. What's good for you? What's good for you? Because to me, if somebody says to me, okay, you have to work, 7 days a week, 24/7, Like, be Elon Musk. I don't want to be Elon Musk. Like, do I really want to put in 22 hours a day, 24 hours a day for XYZ number of years to build a rocket? No, I'm good.
And everyone wants to be some other person.
Yeah. And I love, I mean, I love Elon Musk, just so you know, okay? I love his ideology. I love his thinking. I think the guy is absolutely brilliant, okay? But what I will say is that everyone has flaws and everyone has, good things and bad things, right? Going on in their life. And just because, you find like a lot of people who are filthy rich and they have nobody to talk to. Nobody. I know a guy right now that I'm coaching, and he's like, I have all the money in the world, but I have no one to talk to. He's like, Ash, you're the only guy who I talk to. Like everybody, all my friends have abandoned me. All my, everyone has just abandoned me completely. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
that is the hard truth. That's crazy, but it's the hard truth. And it is the way how it works.
Yeah.
Not
So when,
but
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, not universally, but just per se. What I have seen through, I totally agree with
Yeah, I mean, like when you stop and think about exactly what's happening, right? In terms of the world of like, making it big. Making it big is important, but to me, a peace always comes first before prosperity. To me, so if somebody says go after flashy objects, it's just not my thing. And these concepts work universally. Like if people who have found their signature flow and people who are really understand themselves in a good way, right, a healthy way, and they put that first, you eliminate these doubts that what you're asking for, like people who are doubting themselves because somebody else is saying something else. It may be true in their world, whatever world they live in,
you.
right? Maybe that is the way to go, right? If you're gonna be I don't know, a gangster, right? I mean, you know walking certain way, talking certain way, doing certain things, it's good in their world. But if they walk up to you and say, hey, I think you're too spiritual, I mean, should I should I take it personally? I don't think so. Right? In my world, what they're doing is bad. In their world, what I'm doing is bad. Does that make sense? And I probably won't survive. I mean, I probably will not survive in their world either. And that's just a hard fact. You know? So I think that overall, it just depends. And if somebody's telling you these things, you have to ask yourself, who are you?
So, Ash, in the interest of time, before we wrap up, if our listeners would like to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
Okay, so if they want to connect with me, I'm all over, pretty much on all social media. Just look at Ash Shukla. You'll find I have two websites. Okay, one is financialchakras.com, and the second one is ashshukla.com. So they can reach me either place. They'll find me. But financialchakras.com is actually done at this point. So yeah, financialchakras.com as well. So feel free to reach me on there, and there's my calendar link on there. They can book a call if they want.
I'll have all the links in the show notes. And Ash, thank you for this conversation. It's hard hitting, it's profound, yet it's really, really refreshing take, on the success and the world of business. I think it's more than just strategy. It's about alignment, purpose, energy, and knowing who we are. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So can I say one last thing, Sana? I believe that what we are looking for at the end is conviction, and there's only one path to creating conviction. Only one. So you have to learn how to combine magic, logic, and science. Believe in the magic, Create your own logic and build your own scientific formula that works for you. And you'll get the conviction you're looking for, and nothing else will matter. No one else will matter. You will forget everybody else and you'll go straight to the goal.
Beautiful. Well, I think I couldn't conclude this episode so beautifully. So with that, listeners, make sure to connect with Ash. I'll have all the links in the show notes. And as always, keep blending your brilliance with your being. This is BizBlend, and I'm your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Love you guys.